Hello and welcome to Maestro's Cold War 2. If you'd like to check out the game, there is a link in the description. And indeed, this is, as you might expect, a Cold War simulator. And it has a lot of the same historical things that happened back then. And you can change history if you so desire. Yes, you can. So we can play as the US, or we can play as Russia, or shall we say, the Soviet Union. And we'll play as the US, why not? And you can play the tutorial if you so desire. I think it's probably a good idea because the game is actually quite in depth. Now, what you can also do is you can do some crazy cool things. For example, you can change pretty much everything you want about how the game operates. And the developers themselves, they say that basically no one plays this game completely vanilla, as in someone is always going to be using one of these options, and there are an insane number of different choices here. I'm not going to go through them all right now, but yeah, I was actually blown away by this. And you can also change the various options in the JSON folder as well, if you so desire. It's absolutely bonkers that you can change so much about the game. Anyway, there is also multiplayer, so if you want to do that, you can. But we're just going to play on normal. I am really, and I'm gonna stress this very much. I'm not good at this game, okay? I'm not good at this game. I am going to suck. I am going to suck as hard as, well, anyone has ever sucked. But yes, we'll see. We'll see if we can do something a little bit good here. Maybe when I'm on camera, it will be maybe it will go a little bit better. Anyway, the Soviet bomb just exploded, and the People's Liberation Army won the Chinese Civil War. The alliance of the Soviet atomic bomb and the Chinese immense reserves of soldiers could make the Cold War turn hot. Will the USA be able to contain the communist flood on several fronts even? Yes. In this global duel, a direct confrontation is out of the question. This is a Cold War for the world leadership, made of propaganda and subversion actions, that begins. Alright, so this is our little map right here. And, okay, so let me just be a little bit clear here. Everything that is red belongs to the Soviet Union in regards to their sphere of influence. So, for example, let's just say that everything that is in a stark crimson red, they are very much allied with the Soviet Union. If you're looking at something a little bit less stark red, so for example, you're looking at China, Afghanistan, Iran, Turkey, Albania, etc., they are all kind of allied. They're a little bit in the sphere of influence, because that's what we're talking about here. There is a system in the game known as the sphere of influence, and these countries that I've just named, as well as obviously Finland up there, they are involved with the Soviet Union in this situation. So on the flip side of that, we have the US, and we have all of the countries that are potentially allied with the US. For example, we have the UK, France, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Denmark, etc. They're all allied with the US, right? And anyone that is light blue, that is in the sphere of influence. So you can see here that the relations with Brazil, for example, they are currently good with the United States. And you can see that you can do a number of other things. For example, you can increase the stability of a particular country, and they can potentially help you as a result. Because as you see at the top here, we have prestige, and this is something extremely important. We want to get relation changes, we want to get technologies, we want to get events. We always want to make sure that those things are in our favor. So if I were to click on the United States right now, you can see that there is a little-known man by the name of Harry Truman. Yes, he was indeed the president at this time. And as you can quite clearly tell, you can see a bunch of different things. You can see the national policies and things like that. You can see what we're spending money on as well. Because at the moment, the game works like this. You have $50, right? You have $50, and you can spend those on anything you want. And at the end of the month, because the turns go month by month, you will get another $50. So basically it will just be 50, 50, 50, 50. You cannot save money, just so you know. So spending every single little bit of cash that you have is a very good idea. So We have actions here, as you can see, no news, good news. We have the budget, we have troops, as you can see, we've got bunches of different troops all over the place. I don't know what to do with these, by the way, just so you know. I have no idea, but yeah, you can actually select them from this menu. So you can see here, the UK, we have the UK right there. And, well, I technically, if I want to, you know, I mean, our stability is absolutely fine. UK is absolutely fine with stability. Not so much currently, but back then in 1949, no, it was absolutely fine. But yes, anyway, point is, we can do a variety of different things. So, for example, we can take a look at the troops. We could see exactly what's happening there, how many troops are where, etc. And then we can go to R&D. And so if we want to, what we can actually do is we can increase our research expenditures. So, for example, if I wanted to put $5 to the satellite, then, as you see, we will then get the opportunity to create satellites a little bit faster than our opponents, potentially. We could also go for the H-bomb as well. So it very much depends on if we want to increase that or not. Or if we want to spend our money elsewhere, well, then we can do that. Then we also have geostrategic advantages as well. So, for example, we have thalassocracies here, which are having both Malaya and Indonesia in your block and at least one base in one of those countries. Then this is what happens. China, India, South Korea, if it exists, Taiwan, if independent, and Japan each lose 2 stability if they are in the USSR bloc. These countries gain +2 relationship with the USA and lose -1 relation with the USSR. As long as the conditions are met, the USA gains a bonus to all diplomatic actions with these countries. In other words, as you might expect, if we make Malaya, which I assume is Malaysia, right, and Indonesia in our bloc and at least one base in these countries, if we do that, then we are going to get a significant bonus. So if I find, there is Malaysia right there, so we could potentially do that. Let me actually just make sure that I'm not getting this wrong, because it may very well be that there is a country called that. I'm just not understanding. Let me see. No, it does seem as though that is Malaysia. That is what we are talking about right here. Yeah, that is what we are talking about. So we are not actually going to be... Yeah, we are going to be doing that. We are going to be doing that. There's no reason not to. So we are going to have Malaysia here. And as you can see, we can give them military aid if we want to. I actually wanted to give them economic aid, but apparently I can't do that. We could... Controlling the opposition is a prerequisite for using most subversive actions. We could potentially do that if we wanted to. Military advisors, we could do that as well. Are they actually at war against anyone? It could be that they are at war against someone here. Let's see about... okay, this is better. Okay, let's try and get Indonesia on our side. So let's try... I'm literally going to... I'm just gonna smack them with $50. I'm just going to put an entire $50 into this country, straight up, boom. That's basically 50 million or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how much it actually is, but as you can see, we have now gained 40 prestige, and our relations with them have increased by a significant amount. The stability is average, and we do have a little bit of corruption, unfortunately. The large influx of capital generated greed, and government groups have organized to embezzle this godsend for their own profit. So that is obviously a bit of an unfortunate situation, but that's okay. We don't really need to worry about that just yet. So let's go on to the next month. You can see exactly what happens here. You can see what our enemies are doing. You can see that the USSR is increasing its R&D spendings, and we also have a bunch of movement by China, as well as a number of others. And we have another $45 to spend. And you can see immediately here, there is a massive prestige change with the USSR, which is absolutely insane. I actually have no idea how they were able to do that so incredibly easily. I guess a defense treaty right there? Yeah, so that's probably the way that we should have done this. So if we wanted to, we should have gone for something like a defense treaty with this, probable. Yeah, there we go. We got a defense treaty right there. Very nice. And look at that. We got 110 prestige from that, so you can see we now have 110 prestige there. The Philippines, we could get something going on there, maybe a trade agreement at the very least. No, that's impossible apparently. All right, we'll probably not do that then. Well, what about with Indonesia? Can we actually do something? Defense treaty? Yep. Oh no, it didn't. Negotiations are stalling. Okay, that didn't actually work. Okay, well, we're gonna have to do... this is kind of bad, isn't it? This is kind of bad. All right, I guess what we'll try to do is we'll try to... We could get some military. Let's do subversion. Should we try to subvert a little bit? There we go. Opposition controlled by the United States. Our prestige has gone down a little bit, but that's okay. We don't have to worry about that. Okay, outcome probabilities. Country vulnerability to protests, very likely positive factors. We can do all kinds of crazy things here. And I'm not entirely sure if this is a good idea. I'm actually going to try it. Let's try it out and see what happens. And then we can try and do a... let's try and do some more economic aid right here. There we go. Increase our prestige a little bit more. Let's go to the next month. Okay. Then we got that happening. Okay, so we now have minus... Oh no. We now have minus 10. That's pretty terrible, isn't it? Okay, so as you can see, the relations with us... the stability is chaos! Stability is chaos! Look at that! Okay, that's really bad, actually. That's I'm actually not entirely sure if it is bad. Is it actually bad for us to do that? Okay, well, we're going to create some guerrillas here, and we're going to invade... Should we invade them? Should we literally invade them? Conflict evolution. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, we've done some crazy stuff here. I'm not entirely sure. Shall we invade? Let's do it. Your troops have invaded this country. Okay, this is not a good idea, but I probably shouldn't have done this, to be honest. Okay, let's try it out, I guess. Let's try it out and see what happens. I mean, yeah, as you can see, it's absolutely yeah, we're technically at war with them. Enemy forces 25. I actually don't know. Are we going to be able to do something with this? Maybe. And here we go. Secretary of State Dean Acheson has defined our containment strategy for Asia. Soon he will deliver a speech at the National Press Club, where he will make our policy public. What should he say? We will fight communism toe-to-toe, or our defense perimeter starts offshore. And that, as you can see by the little phrase in the brackets there, is the historical choice. So you can see that decreases tension and deteriorates our relations with South Korea. What will the Chinese reaction be? And you can see here that the other choice is this approach increases tensions, improves relations with South Korea, and deteriorates relations with China. As a result, South Korea and Vietnam shift into the American sphere of influence. And I think we're probably going to do that, because I don't really want to do the same thing that people did in history. I'd like to be a little bit different. I think that would be quite fun, so we'll try it out. The US defense perimeter in the Far East extends from the Aleutian Islands to Taiwan, passing through Korea and Japan. The communists of Asia have been duly warned. Worrying information reached us through the Galen organization. The Soviets are planning a blitzkrieg attack through Western Europe. We must increase the budget dedicated to this organization so that we can learn more about their plans. Some are starting to doubt how reliable this information is. Would the Galen organization not have an interest in distorting reality? We may be depending too much on this organization, which provides us 70% of our intelligence on East European armies. Okay, so we can spend $10 to learn more about their plans, or we can distance ourselves, cancel all effects from the Galen organization. I think we're going to distance ourselves. Why not? We must create our own networks in the East, no matter how long it will take and how much it will cost. In Europe, let me actually just see what's going on. There we go. In Europe, this is alt history now. This is alt history, apparently. In Europe, the disparity between Soviet Red Army forces and those of Western Europe and the USA is striking. All Western general staffs are forced to admit that the Red Army could potentially reach Paris or London within weeks. Widespread and conspicuous Soviet troop maneuvers have only intensified these fears, even. Of course, the USA has the bomb, but would it really risk annihilation for a European country? The nuclear umbrella offers some reassurance, yet many European nations are now loudly demanding a stronger US military presence. In the face of weak US commitment on the ground, some countries are leaning toward a fearful neutrality. These weak nations need a master. Who will it be? Okay, so the Soviet sphere of influence expands to include Austria, Greece, and Sweden, and they leave the US sphere of influence if they were ever in it. All US-aligned countries lose 3 stability, Pacific unrest in the USA increases by 5. Okay, bad things are happening, as you can quite clearly tell. Yep, bad things are happening, and I'm actually not entirely sure. What can I even do here? Withdraw troops? Napalm? I can use napalm. Okay. You know, should I use napalm? Really? I shouldn't really use napalm. Shall we threaten them? Country vulnerability to threats is very, very likely. Okay, yeah, let's do it. There we go. This country has now been Finlandized. I have no idea what that even means. I have no idea what that even means, actually. I'm gonna use napalm. There we go. The bombings were ineffective. Well, that's kind of unfortunate. Okay, I have no idea what I'm even doing, to be honest. See, now this is the thing. I have no clue. Let's use a little bit of economic aid on France over here, just to increase the stability a little bit extra there. Senator McCarthy has recently captured the nation's attention. His popularity is on the rise, but his repeated attacks against the federal government are becoming a significant nuisance. He is prepared to declare the following during an upcoming meeting. The State Department is infested with communists. I have here in my hand a list of 205 names, individuals known to the Secretary of State as members of the Communist Party, who are nonetheless still working and shaping policy in the State Department. Should we encourage this Red Scare? We can unleash his fearsome anti-communism, which will trigger a witch hunt, or we can say he's a fanatic, and it will decrease tension, but it will leave communist elements free to sabotage our nation. Let's take the non-historical choice again, because I want to see what happens. The Tidings Committee, responsible for assessing the loyalty of civil servants, has begun examining Senator McCarthy's accusations. However, the general consensus is that the senator is not to be taken seriously and his claims are seen as baseless. Alright, let's see what happens. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so the auto-economic aid, I can press on that and then we immediately give them economic aid every single time. So I think that's probably somewhat useful, and we probably also want to give military aid. What do you think? Let's do it. There we go. Alright. That sounds pretty decent. And what about the UK? Maybe we want to do something there. Auto-economic aid, let's do that. And let's just go next month. We kind of need to help out the Europeans here, don't we? We need to help them out. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen. So we'll see what happens here. Syngman Rhee, the South Korean leader, dreams only of invading the north and reuniting the Korean peninsula under his banner. Unfortunately, his army may not be quite equal to his ambitions. Should we provide him with the massive military support he has been requesting? So we can do that. We will dispatch American military advisors to South Korea to reinforce both the South Korean army and the country's stability. However, this will also escalate tensions in the region. I'm going to help them this time. The training level and morale of the South Korean troops remain suboptimal. Nonetheless, Syngman Rhee remains confident in his ability to reclaim the north. And it does seem as though we have a good relation with them now. So the question is, what do we want to do? Well, as you can see, there is a little bit of corruption here. So you can see this trait is a true nightmare. Economic aid actions are less efficient in developing and stabilizing corrupted countries, but are more efficient at improving relations with their government. Corruption plagues the entire social body and generates discontent. It is thus easier to destabilize a corrupted country. This trait might disappear if the regime changes, but that is unlikely. Right, so we can do maybe a defense treaty now? Yes? Nope. Okay, apparently that's also not going to work this time around. That's kind of unfortunate. Okay, here we go. This morning, 6 North Korean divisions crossed the 38th parallel. The situation is concerning. Should we intervene to contain communism, even at the risk of escalating tensions with the USSR and China? We are presented with a unique opportunity to step in as champions of the free world. With the UN's approval, thanks to the Soviets, leaving their UN Security Council seat vacant since the Berlin blockade. We can go and help them, which does actually, that does give us a military base in South Korea, and it is the historical choice. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because even though it is the historical choice, as I've said, I don't really like following in the footsteps of people, in history, because I feel like it's more fun to see what would happen otherwise. I think the 100 prestige is quite nice, and we do get a military base. A significant portion of the South Korean troops were on leave, and the communist attack took everyone by surprise. Fortunately, panic does not prevail in Washington. The enemy has provided us with an excellent opportunity to intervene in Asia and push back communism by force. The North Korean advance has been so rapid that our troops can do little more than retreat. They must hold a perimeter in Busan at all costs to ensure that additional reinforcements can arrive. All right, so let's actually see. Can I do anything here? Yes, we can actually do something. Okay, this is a way to strengthen a country without committing your own military forces. If this action is used, okay. Keep in mind that mercenaries may pursue their own agendas, which can lead to serious consequences such as staging coups, seizing local resources, or brutalizing the population. Well, that doesn't sound particularly good, does it? Okay, so we can send troops over there if we want to. We can withdraw troops. I think we already have 5 troops over there. We can send even more troops if we want to. As you can see, their stability is very, very weak right now. So I'm thinking what we're going to have to do is probably send more people. There we go. Yeah, we've got 15 troops there now. So that should be extremely, extremely good, in my opinion at least. The red tide in Korea cannot be held back without taking drastic steps. 5 B-29 groups will be assigned to the Far East Air Forces, and F-4U Corsair squadrons will be cleared to deploy napalm on a widespread basis. You can now initiate strategic bombings through the military action screen of North Korea if you have over $25 left in your budget. You can also initiate napalm strikes through the military action screen of South Korea. The United States, there we go. The United States of America condemns colonialism. However, isn't France's fight in Indochina more about combating communism? It seems this question is not merely a matter of ethics. North Vietnamese troops are capturing ground day after day. Will we abandon the Asian states and allow them to fall one after another in a domino effect? Okay, so let's have a look. Help the French fight communism? That's the historical choice, or condemn this colonial war. Well, I mean, both is kind of bad, but we'll try... Well, I guess we'll just do the historical choice, even though we are ending up losing a lot of money this way. We're going to be losing a huge amount of cash this way. By providing the French with the means to defeat the communists, we have avoided direct confrontation or intervention with our own troops. The benefits are clear. Alright, so the problem is here, right? The problem is... we're going to have some issues, right? We're going to have some issues because I've got 0 cash right now, right? I've got 0 cash. I highly doubt I'm going to be able to do much. Allied troops, we've got 15 in there, and the UN has actually sent 4. Wow, who would have thought the UN would actually be useful? Okay, so you will see if... yeah, I can't actually do anything else right now, as you can quite clearly tell. We've basically done everything we can in South Korea, apart from the fact that we could, if we had above $25, we could actually do a little bit of airstriking, but it's probably not the best idea. It's probably like a last resort more, I think. Anyway, the North Koreans were pushed back by the counterattack of the UN and South Korean troops and American troops, thank you very much. I sent some people there. All the territory that was lost is quickly reclaimed. The counteroffensive is expected to put a quick end to this war. A large army of Chinese volunteers just cross the Yalu River and throw themselves into the battle. The Chinese immediately counterattack with ferocity. The UN troops, faced with the number of enemies, must back off once again. Alright, well that's not very good, is it? No, that's actually pretty terrible. So what are we going to do there? Oh yeah, now we have Chinese volunteers coming in to North Korea here. And is there something I can do to try and persuade them? I don't think so, right? I mean, look at my money situation. My money situation is absolutely terrible, so I don't know what I can really do there. I think we're just going to probably press on next month a little bit and just see what happens to our cash. I mean, you can see here that my cash at the moment is actually terrible, so I'm not entirely sure how we're going to even fix that, to be honest, but let's just see what happens. Okay, oh dear. Yes, bad things are happening right now. Yes, we still have minus 10. We have 385 prestige, which is actually not even terrible. I think that's pretty good, to be honest. But yeah, we have basically nothing else that I can do here. The only other things that I could potentially do is I could go over here to our troops. We could try to get rid of some troops, for example, in Indonesia, for example. I think that's probably, we can withdraw all troops right there. I'm not sure if that's actually going to do anything, to be honest, but let's have a look. The North Korean Air Force has been strengthened by active Soviet and Chinese involvement. MiGs now dominate the skies, and we have failed to maintain air supremacy. The solution seems simple: bomb the air bases located in Chinese territory. However, such actions would come at a tremendous political cost. Okay, so we can bomb the Chinese air bases. Several possible outcomes, as you can see right there. This decreases our relations with China and North Korea. I mean, to be honest, our relations with them are already extremely low, so I don't know how that's really going to affect it that badly. But yeah, I think we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Yeah, let's bomb the air bases. Why not? The enemy bases were hit hard. They did not expect such a bold move from us. The Communist Air Force has been decimated, and we now have total control of the skies. Our intelligence services report that enemy forces are nearing their breaking point. North Korean elite soldiers from the early days of the war have been replaced by unmotivated conscripts forced into service. Our sources also inform us that a second army of Chinese volunteers has entered Korea. These troops are poorly equipped and rely on rudimentary logistics. Our bombings are unlikely to hinder their advance. Unlikely? Really? Really? Come on now. Surely it would make a difference. I don't know. Okay, it feels kind of weird. Anyway, the harsh Korean winter has caught UN units unprepared for such extreme cold. In contrast, the hardened North Korean and Chinese fighters are fully equipped to endure these harsh conditions. Okay, so North Korean stability has increased and South Korean has decreased. Okay, well that's great. That is wonderful, isn't it? Okay, so I'm now basically back at 0. Our stability in South Korea actually is hilariously good though, as you can quite clearly tell. It's really, really good. Look at that. Our stability is fantastic. So that's really nice. North Korea is, oh wow, their stability is even better. Wow, okay, that's really, really impressive. Ah, there we go. All right, so we're now starting to get a little bit of cash. So the best thing that I can possibly do right now is most likely just give military aid to the South Koreans. I think that's probably the best. Trade agreement? Yes, we got a trade agreement. That's absolutely fantastic. We can do auto-economic aid as well. Let's do that. There we go. And we are just going to we're just going to continue doing that. We are just going to continue doing that as much as we possibly can. I mean, you can see here that China and North Korea are both getting absolutely massive funding at the moment as well. And we are going to send some troops. There we go. Let's get some military aid going in there. Thank you very much. There we are. Okay, that's probably going to help us quite a bit. Our new F-86 Sabre jet fighters have begun arriving in Korea. They will enable us to contest air supremacy against the formidable MiG-15s in northern Korea, particularly in the area known as MiG Alley. However, our experts estimate that we are about 4 years behind the Soviets in fixed-wing aircraft design. Okay, your strategic bombing attacks in North Korea will have less of a chance of being intercepted. Very nice. Okay, well that's obviously useful. And we now have a little bit extra here. They have, wow, they have a lot of troops. They really, really do have a lot of troops. So I think we'll probably do auto military aid right here. And then we can do, well, we can actually send troops, as you can see right there, or we can do napalm. That's basically pointless in my opinion. We can align. What is this? You leverage your influence to compel a country to adopt your economic and political model. Okay, I understand that. That's not going to happen. That says unlikely, so probably not going to do that right now. Okay, there we go. Economic aid. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to go over to one of these other countries over here, and we're basically just going to give them some stuff. There we go. Yes, stability was very weak, but now it's just weak. And now, as you can see, we've actually finally overtaken them in prestige. Actually doing a pretty nice job with that. Let's see if we can do a little bit better. General MacArthur, the World War II hero and commander of our forces in Asia, has increasingly been openly criticizing the US government. His aggressive rhetoric has made some of our European allies uneasy. He said, if we lose the war to communism in Asia, the fate of Europe will be gravely jeopardized. Win it, and Europe will likely be saved from war and remain free. Make the wrong decision here, the fatal decision of inertia, and we are finished. I can almost hear the ticking of the second hand of destiny. We must act now, or we will perish. There is no substitute for victory. What if he's right? Well, let's see. Dismiss him, that's the historical choice, or we can say he is right. Tension with the communist bloc rises to its maximum. Your relations with China deteriorate. The Western bloc countries are worried. US diplomatic policy shifts to rollback. You know what? I'm gonna say he's right, because the other thing is the historical choice, and it doesn't really particularly give us anything super amazing, so I'm actually interested to see what happens. Only the bomb seems capable of stopping the relentless waves of Chinese soldiers swarming into South Korea. Increasingly, military commanders are convinced that this is the right solution. General MacArthur has already begun exploring different ways to decisively address the Chinese threat. Alright. Let's see what happens. I have no idea. I mean, this is all just random things that I'm thinking of right now. China must cease its intervention in Korea. If mere threats are insufficient, we may be forced to resort to nuclear weapons. The Strategic Air Command is prepared to bomb China into compliance. However, this potential use of nuclear weapons has made our European allies uneasy, so they seem to overlook the fact that we are also fighting for their defense. Should we risk a showdown with China? Okay, so we can reassure the world, which is a historical choice, as you can see right there, or we can threaten them, and it will trigger a showdown. Oh dear. This is not good. I think the best possible thing for us to do right now is to actually threaten them, because I think that's going to be amusing. I think it's going to be fun, you know. I just want to see what happens, to be honest. There we go. Nuclear showdown. Okay, let's have a look. What does this mean? I have no idea what this means. Okay, so... stakes 800 prestige points. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Okay, so the technological edge is the US. Okay, that's good. When the gauge reaches 0, the country yields. Okay. It must immediately withdraw its troops or face the wrath of the United States. Okay, fine. Let's, what does this do? Harden your position to destabilize your opponent, may decrease DEFCON and provoke a nuclear threat, or may ease tension and dispel the specter of a nuclear war, but could be interpreted as a sign of weakness. Okay, let's threaten them. Congratulations, you caused the end of the world. Yes, that means you lost the game. Whoops. Yeah, well, that's kind of an achievement in itself, isn't it? I did actually get an achievement, hilariously enough. Yes, I got an achievement, and it was called literally oops. Yes, literally oops. So there you go. Anyway, I did very well, didn't I? Yes, I told you I sucked. Yes, yeah, I told you. Anyway, if you'd like to check out Maestro's Cold War 2, there is a link in the description. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.